Congratulations to our valedictorian, Emma Wilson, who achieved these extraordinary accomplishments while fully self-financing her education. The university president's words echoed through the auditorium as I stood frozen on the graduation stage. In the family section, I watched my parents' faces drain of color. Their expressions morphed from confusion to shock, then to something approaching horror as they realized everyone now knew. Everyone knew they had refused to support the daughter being celebrated as the university's most outstanding graduate. The thunderous applause felt like vindication for every sleepless night, every skipped meal, every moment I had questioned my worth. But how did I get here? How did the daughter they deemed not worth investing in become the one standing triumphant while they squirmed in uncomfortable recognition? The answer began 17 years earlier, in a house that looked perfect from the outside but hid devastating favoritism within. I grew up watching my sister Lily receive everything I was denied. Christmas mornings were exercises in inequality where Lily unwrapped expensive toys while I received practical items like socks. Even at 8 years old, I recognized the unfairness. My mother would explain away the disparity with words that still sting: Lily needs more encouragement with her talents. My father, Robert Wilson, had been raised by parents who measured love through achievement. His own childhood had been a constant competition with his more academically gifted brother, leaving him with an almost desperate need to back what he saw as winning horses. This explained his fixation on Lily's natural charm and effortless academic success. My mother, Diana, coming from a family where resources were scarce, had developed a scarcity mindset that made her risk-averse. In her mind, investing in the child with more obvious potential was simply practical. Neither of them could see that their practical decisions were destroying their other daughter. For my art exhibitions, I was lucky if Mom showed up for 15 minutes during her lunch break. Art is just a hobby, Emma. It won't get you anywhere in life, Dad would say dismissively. The only person who seemed to see me was my grandmother Eleanor. During summer visits to her lake house, she would sit with me for hours while I sketched the water and trees. You have a special way of seeing the world, Emma, she would tell me. Her words became my lifeline when everything else felt hopeless. Those summers with Grandma Eleanor became my sanctuary, where I discovered books about entrepreneurs who had overcome impossible odds. I began to dream of proving my worth through achievements my parents couldn't ignore. The memory of being 12 years old, watching my parents attend Lily's science fair while missing my art exhibition that same day, still makes my chest tighten with forgotten pain. I had worked for weeks on a series of portraits, pouring my heart into each stroke. The empty chair where my parents should have been sitting felt like a physical wound. By high school, I had developed resilience out of necessity. I joined every business-related club and discovered a natural aptitude for economics that surprised even my teachers. When I won the regional business plan competition as a sophomore, my economics teacher called my parents personally. "That's nice," Mom said after hanging up. "Did you remember to help Lily with her history project?" During junior year, I worked 20 hours a week at a local coffee shop while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. I sensed I would need my own resources in the future. The exhaustion was constant, but so was my growing determination. Sometimes I would catch glimpses of other families, parents beaming with pride at their children's accomplishments, and wonder what it would feel like to be seen that way. Meanwhile, Lily joined the debate team and instantly became the star, with my parents attending every tournament. By senior year, both Lily and I were applying to colleges. Despite being 2 years apart, Lily had skipped a grade, putting us in the same graduating class. We both applied to prestigious Westfield University. Against all odds, we both received acceptance letters on the same day. I still remember the excitement I felt, hands trembling as I opened that thick envelope. I got in. I announced at dinner, unable to contain my joy. My father glanced up briefly from his phone. "That's nice, Emma." Minutes later, Lily burst through the front door, waving her own acceptance letter. The transformation in my parents was immediate and devastating. Dad jumped up from his chair, Mom rushed to embrace Lily, and suddenly dinner was abandoned for an impromptu celebration. "We always knew you could do it," Mom gushed to Lily, seemingly forgetting I had announced the exact same achievement minutes earlier. The memory of that moment still has the power to take my breath away. The casual dismissal of my achievement while celebrating Lily's identical one crystallized every hurt I had ever felt. 2 weeks later came the conversation that would change everything. "We need to discuss college plans," Dad announced, his eyes fixed solely on Lily. "We've been saving for your education since you were born. The Westfield tuition is steep, but we can cover it entirely." I waited for my turn, assuming they had saved for both of us. The silence stretched uncomfortably until I finally spoke up. "What about my tuition?" I asked quietly. The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. "Emma," my father said slowly, "we only have enough for one of you, and Lily has always shown more academic promise." My mother patted my hand in what she probably thought was comfort. "You've always been more independent anyway. You can take out loans." Then came the words that burned themselves into my memory: "She deserved it, but you didn't." I stared at them, unable to process the depth of their betrayal. 17 years of trying to earn their approval had culminated in this ultimate rejection of my worth. In that moment, something inside me broke completely, but something else was forged in its place: unbreakable determination. That night, I locked myself in my bedroom and allowed the tears I'd been holding back to finally fall. The unfairness crushed me, but it also clarified something essential. I would prove them wrong, not for their approval, but for my own vindication. The next morning, I drove to Grandma Eleanor's house seeking the only genuine support I knew. As I poured out the whole story, she listened without interruption, her weathered hands clasping mine tightly. "My darling girl," she finally said, "sometimes life's most painful moments become our greatest catalyst. Your parents are wrong about you. Deeply, tragically wrong." Her voice carried the weight of someone who had watched her son make the same mistakes her own parents had made with her. Grandma Eleanor had grown up as the overlooked middle child in a family that prized conformity over creativity. She recognized the pattern repeating itself and was determined to break it. "Promise me you'll go to Westfield anyway," she said fiercely. "Don't let their limitations become yours." That night, I made my decision. I would attend Westfield alongside Lily, finance my own education, and graduate despite every obstacle. For weeks, I spent every spare moment completing scholarship applications. My guidance counselor stayed after school to help me navigate the complex financial aid system. With a mix of small scholarships and loans co-signed by Grandma Eleanor, I pieced together enough financing for my first year. The contrast between our preparations was stark. My parents took Lily shopping for new clothes and dorm decorations while I packed secondhand belongings in grocery store boxes. On move-in day, I followed behind in my decade-old Honda that made concerning noises, watching my parents help Lily settle into her premium dormitory. I continued alone to my tiny apartment 45 minutes from campus. That first night, lying on a thin mattress with the sounds of traffic and arguing neighbors filtering through the walls, I questioned everything. Could I really work 30 hours weekly while taking a full course load? Just as despair threatened to overwhelm me, my phone chimed with a text from Grandma Eleanor: "Remember, my brave girl, diamonds are only made under pressure. You're already shining." Freshman year hit like a hurricane. While most students enjoyed newfound freedom, I balanced 30 work hours weekly with full course loads. My typical day started at 5 in the morning with study sessions before rushing to my coffee shop shift. I learned to complete assignments during lunch breaks and record lectures to listen to while cleaning machines. The exhaustion was bone deep, but something unexpected happened. My business classes weren't just manageable, I was excelling. Years of practical financial planning had prepared me in ways my classmates weren't. Professor Bennett, my business ethics instructor, stopped me after class one day. "Your analysis shows remarkable maturity," she said. "Your insights on resource allocation demonstrate real-world understanding." For perhaps the first time, my struggles were translating into academic advantage. I was also blessed with an unexpected friendship. My roommate Zoe noticed my punishing schedule and began leaving homemade meals with my name on them. "You can't keep going like this," she said one night, setting tea before me. "You'll burn out before midterms." When I explained my situation, her expression shifted to indignation on my behalf. "Consider me your college family," she declared. "Sometimes the family we choose matters more than the one we're born into." Midway through sophomore year, disaster struck when the coffee shop reduced hours, cutting my income by 40%. My careful budget collapsed overnight. With rent due and tuition looming, I faced my first major financial crisis. Ms. Winters from Financial Aid offered both practical advice and unexpected assistance. Your academic performance qualifies you for an emergency grant, she explained. And Professor Bennett has recommended you for a research position. The research position became another turning point. Working directly with Professor Bennett, I began assisting with her study on small business resilience. The intellectual stimulation was a welcome change, and Professor Bennett took genuine interest in my future. Have you considered entrepreneurship? She asked one afternoon. Your perspective on resource constraint driving innovation is sophisticated. Using skills from my marketing classes, I created a simple online platform offering virtual assistant services. Working late into the night, I built a website and developed service packages. By junior year, my small business was generating enough income to quit the bookstore job. I maintained the research position more for mentorship than money. As my business grew, so did my confidence. In strategy class, I began sharing insights from real entrepreneurial experience. Professors took notice and classmates sought my advice. The girl who once felt invisible was becoming a respected voice in the department. Meanwhile, Lily and I maintained cordial but distant contact. Our parents called her weekly but reached out to me only for major holidays. During one Thanksgiving break when I couldn't afford the trip home, Mom texted, "We miss you at dinner, but understand you're busy with your projects." The casual dismissal stung, but less sharply than it once would have. By the end of junior year, my virtual assistant business had evolved into a proper digital marketing agency serving clients across the state. I hired fellow students as part-time associates, turning theoretical knowledge into practical business growth. Professor Bennett nominated me for the prestigious Entrepreneurial Excellence Scholarship, which covered my entire senior year tuition. "You've earned this through extraordinary effort," she told me. "Your story exemplifies the entrepreneurial spirit this university was founded upon." For the first time since starting college, I felt the crushing weight of financial insecurity begin to lift. What I didn't realize was that my success story was becoming quietly famous within the business department. Senior year arrived with momentum I could scarcely have imagined. My digital marketing agency served 15 regular clients and employed 4 students. Professor Bennett approached me with an unexpected opportunity. "The National Collegiate Business Innovation Competition is accepting entries," she said. "Your agency model has a genuine shot." After 3 rounds of increasingly competitive judging, I made it to the finals. Ironically, as my trajectory soared, Lily began experiencing her first real academic struggles. Years of coasting on natural talent had left her ill-prepared for genuine challenges. One evening, she appeared at my door tearful and desperate. "I'm failing my thesis seminar," she confessed. "I might not graduate." Looking at my sister's genuine distress, I felt conflicting emotions. Part of me thought this was karmic justice for years of preferential treatment. But another part recognized this as an opportunity to rise above our painful past. "Come in," I said. "Let's take a look." Through helping Lily, I discovered that my years of self-directed learning had given me skills she never developed. As we worked together, something unexpected happened. We began to really talk. "How do you do it all?" Lily asked one night. "Your business, perfect grades, research position." I explained my punishing schedule, the financial pressures, the constant calculations required to stay afloat. Lily listened with growing horror. "I had no idea," she whispered. "Mom and Dad always said you were doing fine." "Fine is relative," I replied. "I've worked 60-hour weeks for 4 years while maintaining perfect academics." "Why didn't you ever say anything?" she asked. The question struck me as naively privileged. Would it have changed anything? Would they suddenly have decided I was worth investing in too? The conversation marked a turning point in our relationship. As Lily began recognizing the inequality that had shaped our lives, she became my unexpected ally. By January, our weekly study sessions had become genuine connection. Lily's thesis was back on track, and she had developed new appreciation for discipline and perseverance. Meanwhile, my senior project had attracted attention from university administration. Dean Rodriguez invited me to her office in February. "Your journey at Westfield has been extraordinary," she began. We would like you to deliver the student address at graduation. The opportunity to speak at graduation felt like the culmination of everything I had worked toward. What I didn't know was that Dean Rodriguez had more planned than just a student address. In April, the business competition became my focus. My presentation incorporated everything I had learned about resilience and creating value from constraint. When the panel announced my victory, I felt validation that transcended the prize money. I had transformed my greatest challenges into competitive advantage. 2 weeks before graduation, our parents arrived to help Lily prepare. They planned elaborate celebrations while sending me a perfunctory invitation. "We assumed you'd be busy with work," Mom explained dismissively. The morning of graduation dawned bright and clear. I woke early, excitement mixing with nervous anticipation. After dressing carefully in my new outfit, I fastened Grandma Eleanor's special stole around my shoulders. The embroidered words, "Diamonds are made under pressure," felt like armor against whatever lay ahead. At the ceremony, I spotted my parents in premium seats near the front. Dad wore his navy suit reserved for important clients, while Mom had chosen an elaborate floral dress. Their eyes tracked Lily with obvious pride as she walked ahead of me. Grandma Eleanor sat beside them, her gaze fixed firmly on me. When our eyes met, she nodded once, a gesture containing all her fierce pride and love. After degrees were conferred, President Harlow approached the podium. "We have several special recognitions to present. First, I invite Emma Wilson to deliver this year's student address." As I made my way to the stage, I caught a glimpse of my parents. For the first time that day, they were looking directly at me, confusion evident in their expressions. Taking the podium, I drew a deep breath and began. "For years ago, I arrived at Westfield with nothing but determination and the belief that education should be earned, not given. Today, I stand before you having worked 30 hours weekly while maintaining perfect academics, building a successful business, and graduating with highest honors." I spoke about resilience, about finding strength in adversity, about redefining success on your own terms. Without directly mentioning my parents, I addressed the pain of being underestimated and the power of proving skeptics wrong. The greatest gift of my Westfield education wasn't found in textbooks. It was discovering that limitations placed upon us by others need not become our own limitations. As I concluded to enthusiastic applause, President Harlow returned to the microphone. What happened next would forever change my family's dynamics. "Thank you, Ms. Wilson. And now I have the distinct pleasure of announcing several special recognitions." He paused dramatically. "First, the faculty has unanimously selected Emma Wilson as this year's valedictorian, graduating with a perfect 4.0 GPA while simultaneously building a business now valued at over 6 figures." A murmur of appreciation rippled through the crowd. I stood frozen beside the podium. Additionally, Ms. Wilson is this year's winner of the National Collegiate Business Innovation Competition, bringing unprecedented recognition to our university. The audience's applause grew stronger. I dared a glance toward my parents and saw their expressions shifting from confusion to shock. "What many of you may not know," President Harlow continued, "is that Ms. Wilson accomplished these extraordinary achievements while fully self-financing her education, working multiple jobs, and maintaining academic excellence without any family financial support." The revelation sent a visible ripple through the audience. Parents looked at each other with expressions ranging from disbelief to admiration. In recognition of her extraordinary journey, Ms. Wilson has been offered a position with Alexander Global Consulting, one of the nation's premier business strategy firms. Furthermore, her entrepreneurial journey will be featured as the cover story of Business Innovation magazine. The audience erupted in a standing ovation. Through the thunderous applause, I watched as my parents' faces drained of color. Their expressions morphed from shock to something approaching horror as they realized everyone now knew they had refused to support the daughter being celebrated as the university's most outstanding graduate. Lily stood among the graduates, clapping wildly with tears streaming down her face. Grandma Eleanor remained seated only because her arthritic knees wouldn't allow her to stand quickly, but her proud smile could have lit the entire auditorium. As the applause finally quieted, President Harlow made one final announcement. In honor of Ms. Wilson's extraordinary example, the University Board has established the Emma Wilson Resilience Scholarship, providing assistance to students demonstrating exceptional determination in overcoming obstacles. The symbolic victory was complete. Not only had I succeeded despite my parents' lack of faith, but my name would be permanently associated with supporting others facing similar challenges. As I returned to my seat amidst continued applause, Lily grabbed my hand and squeezed it tightly. "You are amazing," she whispered fiercely. "And they were so wrong about you." When the ceremony concluded, I found my parents standing awkwardly with Grandma Eleanor. Their usual confident postures were replaced by uncomfortable stiffness. Several professors and classmates stopped me to offer congratulations, delaying my approach to the family gathering. When I finally reached them, my father attempted a jovial tone that rang hollow. "Well, this was quite a surprise," he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "You've been holding out on us, Emma." The casual dismissal of my hard work, as if I'd merely been keeping secrets rather than struggling while they ignored me, barely registered. "Not at all," I replied coolly. "I've been exactly who I've always been. You just weren't paying attention." Before they could respond, Lily stepped forward and put her arm around my shoulders. "Everyone's talking about Emma's accomplishments," she announced loudly. "Isn't it amazing how she achieved all this without any support? I can't imagine how much more she could have done if she'd had the same advantages I did." Our mother flinched visibly at the public acknowledgement of their favoritism. "Perhaps we should continue this at home," Dad suggested, clearly uncomfortable with public scrutiny. "Actually," I replied, "I have a celebration with my business team and mentors this afternoon. They've been my real support system these past 4 years." Grandma Eleanor stepped forward, taking my hand in her gnarled one. "I'm coming with you," she declared. "I want to meet these wonderful people who recognized what your own parents couldn't see." For perhaps the first time, I saw genuine regret flash across my mother's face. "We're very proud of you, of course," she attempted weakly. "Thank you," I replied with dignified grace. "But I've learned that external validation isn't necessary for success. Today isn't about gaining your approval. It's about celebrating the journey I made without it." As Grandma Eleanor and I turned to leave, Lily made a quick decision. "I'm coming too," she announced, stepping away from our parents to join us. The sight of their 2 daughters walking away, both having outgrown the constraints of their expectations, left my parents standing alone. Their carefully constructed narratives about their children were visibly crumbling before undeniable truth. Years later, as I established my own scholarship fund for first-generation students, I reflected on the journey that brought me here. From the devastated teenager hearing, "She deserved it, but you didn't," to an accomplished professional creating opportunities for others. The transformation wasn't just in my circumstances, but in my fundamental understanding of self-worth. The real victory wasn't proving my parents wrong, though that satisfaction was undeniable. The deeper triumph was discovering that their assessment had never actually defined me. I had always been capable, valuable, and worthy of investment. Their failure to see it reflected their limitations, not mine. Perhaps that's the most powerful realization for anyone who has been underestimated. Your value exists independently of others' ability to recognize it. Being underestimated became my greatest advantage. It forced me to develop resilience, self-reliance, and determination that served me long after the initial injury had healed. The very qualities my parents failed to nurture became the foundation of success they couldn't have envisioned. Not because I wasn't capable, but because their vision was too limited to encompass who I could become. Sometimes those who believe in you the least can motivate you the most. Not to earn their approval, but to discover just how far beyond their limited vision you can truly soar.